it's your girl LD Marie, and welcome back to my channel as Let Them See Your Mind. I am your host LD Marie, and let's get started. So today's episode is one episode that really grinds my gears. It's a topic that I preach about constantly, and it's the TV portrayals of social workers. So I'm going to let y'all think for 1 second. What is the first thing that you think of when you think of a social worker? And I pretty much have a good idea of what you're thinking of when you hear social worker. This is what you think of. Check it out.
No, you're not having a... Don't make this any worse, Lola. You've already got a file as thick as a brick. Now, just hand her over. No, I'll never see her again. She's not going into care. She's not. You're not having her. She's my baby. She's my baby. Let's give it to her. No, you're not taking my baby. You're not. You're not. No, Lexi.
Give me back that baby!
Give me my baby!
Was I right to say that that's what you think of when you think of a social worker? Do you realize that episode right there, it had over 500 complaints to BBC? Because most of those complaints were actual social workers. And the thing about it is, that clip right there is what the public thinks, majority of the public thinks what social workers are. And that is not the case whatsoever. Because social workers are far more than child protection workers. They are far more than child welfare workers. They are far more than that social worker that you literally see and you feel like that you have to lie to in order to make sure that everything's okay, because the anxiety of they may or may not take my kids. The thing about it is, with social workers, there is a long-aided process before actually something happens like that. Unless the child is in immediate danger, there's a long process. And I'm telling you, that's from either from the United Kingdom or in the United States. It's a long process to remove a kid from a home. And a lot of the times, if it's an immediate type of situation, it follows with a police protecting. And this is probably, as I said, true in the United States. Like, the police would have to, they have the authority, but their authority is only so long that the family department or the children's services department or the social services department has that time to rush to court and put in an emergency application in order to continue that. And that department have to prove the child is still at risk and they cannot return home. And a lot of it depends on the judge, whether they see fit that there's enough evidence to say yes, the child can continue to remain out of the home, or no, return that child back to its mother or father or parents or both. And people don't get that. People don't get that. They get the outside view. They get the actual removal or that video. They actually get that. And they get the reaction from family and from friends. And they're like, no, this person is a good mother, or this person is good. Or the immediate reaction when social services comes into someone's life is like, I don't know why you're here. I'm a good mother. I'm this. Or they immediately started to say how they're good at this, they're good at that, or they're portraying themselves and trying to prove themselves as a good parent when an investigator comes in and they're just needing to investigate to prove the accusations that have been reported. Because a lot of the times there's an incident that has been reported and we need to find out what it needs to do in order to investigate that situation. And a lot of times it does involve removal at one point, but it doesn't, most cases don't start out like that. And the portrayals that TV and media have for social workers, it's bad. It is so bad. And we get the baddest rap, but we also are overworked and underpaid. We get the baddest rap in media, and a lot of doctors and a lot of different organizations look at us like this.
It's very nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you, too. Her head gets cold. It's so nice to have you here, really.
Yes, it's very nice.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What? No. That was your.
No,
you go ahead.
I interrupted. It's my fault. Please, honey, you go.
Thank you, dear. It's just nice to have you here.
It really is. Can I get you something to drink?
No, I'd love some herbal tea.
Oh, no. I don't have herbal tea. I mean, I know it's good for you, but I just don't like it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't have herbal tea.
Oh, no, honestly, it's okay. Look, don't worry. It's better if everyone just stays relaxed, okay? So I'm gonna need to speak with each member of the family individually.
Great. That sounds great. We're not nervous.
So, how many hours a day would you say that you spend together as a family?
Just about every chance we get. We love spending time together. We're together all the time.
2.
I don't know. What's the right answer?
So what are foster families like? Are there any with, like, in-ground pools, or...?
Would you say that you drink alcohol on a regular basis?
No, not at all. Hardly ever.
3 times a week? More if the Colts are losing?
I just love my family so much.
Are there any foster families available with cute teenage girls? Because they wouldn't be considered my sisters, right?
Does your wife ever get angry? And what do you do as a family for fun?
Oh, biking, canoeing, visiting ancient Native American historical sites and looking for arrowheads.
Watch TV.
Watch TV.
Watch TV? I don't... Is that the right answer? I just love my family so much.
You get reactions from families just literally every single day, just like that. And you, as a social worker for myself, you try to alleviate some of those stressors. You try to alleviate some of those worries and anxieties by letting them know what everything is happening up front. But there's still questions. There's still questions. And a lot of the times that we can't answer them right away. We can't. And we have to follow through the process, and we have to ensure that things are going in accordance to into the way that they have to be going. And we have to follow those rules and expectations according to the council, the government, or in the United States, the state laws and regulations. And unfortunately, it causes more harm than it does good. So sorry to say, not every situation is cookie cutter. And a lot of the times when we're putting every situation in this particular cookie cutter, it may not come out the same shape as others, or it may be oversized and maybe undersized, and a lot of different things happen in different ways. And that's why social workers have to work within the cookie cutter in order to make sure that the best outcome is appropriate for each child. And it sucks, because also as a social worker, you need to plan individually for each child. But when you have statutory limits or statutory guidance where you're still within that red tape, and you have to individualize each red cookie tape to feed that to meet that child's needs, or meet that child's expectations, or meet that child's goals. A lot of the times it's very difficult and very hard. But we have to do it. And you're also running up against the simple fact of when social workers do come to you after things that have happened, conversations can look like this.
A lot of questions came up today about your relationship, about your employment.
Well, she got her job back. That was a misunderstanding.
She disappeared.
Well, that was a miscommunication.
And the part about you two living in separate houses, that's miscommunication too? Look, I get it. It's not easy bringing a child into a relationship. You're allowed to have some bumps in the road. This afternoon, when it looked like you two had split up, your wife got fired, she lied to me about it and left with the baby. I set off some alarms. Now, I'm trying to dial them all back, but it's not that easy to do. Once a system is set in motion, there's a certain protocol that has to be followed. Mm-hmm. Once the agency believes that there are questions about Meredith...
Janet, Meredith is the best mother a child could have. She loves Zola. She loves me. And if there is a flaw with her, it's... She loves people so much that she'll do anything for them.
Derek, please. I hear you. But no matter what I say, social services still has to reevaluate the placement. And while that happens, Zola can't be in your home. I'll give you a minute to say goodbye.
I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with parents like this. And they look, because they're reacting to the fact of, oh, well, they're going to take my kid. But like I've always said when I make social work videos, is that as long as you are working with a social worker that's working within child protection or agencies, or like not agencies, but just foster care agencies, or anything that has to do with the social work that involves a child and a child's well-being and welfare, if you're following the rules and expectations, if you are communicating with your social worker, you won't have confrontations like this, or you won't have removal conversations like what happened later on in that particular episode. And in that particular episode, I'm a spoiler alert for Grey's Anatomy's fans, or the ones that haven't reached that particular episode. I mean, you look within a social worker's eyes, it's like, I have to work within the confines of this cookie cutter, and it may or may not be appropriate in that situation, but I still have to follow within the cookie cutter. Just because, like, oh, well, they didn't do right, so I have to go and put this child with a different family, and then that child comes back to the hospital and didn't get as the good of a care as it would the first family. You look back, and the family may blame you for you following the procedures. And that's what a lot of social workers that work in child protection deal with, where, like, we have to work within our guidelines, and unfortunately, sometimes those guidelines bites us in the ass, and it second guesses us for certain things that we have to do in the future. Because we know, all social workers know that are in child protection work, is that their decision is also, it weighs heavily, and you can do one decision or multiple decisions that can land a child, whether it be life or death. And you have to weigh in on that very heavily. And so there are guidelines and there are rules and expectations brought by everyone else. But when you're working every day, a lot of the times it just doesn't work like that. Sometimes the guidance and boundaries, or sometimes what happens within a certain narrative may not be in the best interest of the child after the fact. But within that first instance, it is within the best interest of the child. Because I'm trying to remember that Netflix movie. It will come up to me and I remember it. But it was this movie. I just watched it recently. And it was a BBC type of film. And the social worker was being blamed for this child's death because she authorized that child to have unsupervised contact with the grandparents, who also still had connections with dad. Unknowingly, of course. But she had got to blame for it because she was a social worker. She should have known better. Those types of decisions, those type of outcomes that are happening each and every day, and those type of decisions where we have to make decisions on the spot, and it can affect a child's life. And it weighs heavy on social workers that way. And a lot of the times where we may think it's right in that instance, and then it may be wrong, and then everything kind of blows back up in your face, because that decision is always on you. Not necessarily on you, but it's also everybody is dependent on you. And that's why a lot of social workers today deal with depression, deal with anxiety, deal with depression, and all other types of mental health issues, because they know that the pressures of the job can get to them. And it can get to the point where if something happens, everything can fall back on you. Even if you followed every procedure, even if you followed every rule, checked every dot, crossed every T, dotted every I, if something goes wrong, it comes back on you. And those are certain professions that actually have that. With social workers, with nurses, with doctors, with police officers, firefighters, everyone have that similar weight on their chest for that job. And it doesn't help that we have professionals that literally say, they threaten children's services to remove a person from their child, which gives a negative connotation not only to the professional working relationship, but it also gives that negative context to everyone around them, because word of mouth can spread like wildfire. And that's the problem that we have with media and TV having portrayals of social workers the way that they have. And I wanted to end this podcast to kind of tell you about how professionals can really work together in order to make it a better outcome for children if they have the basic understanding of what the job is. And that's point blank, period. And I feel like I want to end this podcast with this particular video that explains exactly how professionals do see us in a medical setting, of course, how professionals see us in a medical setting or any other setting whatsoever, and how another professional can clarify them. This is your girl, LD Marie, and please make sure that you subscribe, like this channel, and ask any questions that you like, because I'm all for the questions. I'm all for it, and I'm ready to answer them. So make sure to comment, subscribe, like, go to my pages, and look out for anything that is coming your way. Like I said, this is LD Marie, and we are out. Check it out.
I think calling protective services is a bad idea.
Kyle's mother may not have a lot of lucid time. And these years are going to be difficult, but it's all the family has. And so pulling them apart.
Do you know when protective services pulls families apart? When the children are in danger. When the children aren't in danger, they go away. They do something else.
But they can have a knee-jerk reaction to certain circumstances.
You think they're idiots?
I am sure that they are not.
Heartless wretches?
No.
Pediatric surgeons can be heartless wretches. Some would argue that I'm a case in point. But social workers, on the other hand, are bleeding hearts. All right? They're earning peanuts, they're doing this thankless work, and then they get painted as what? Homewreckers. For simply stepping in when children are being harmed.
But the boy is not being harmed.
And you're sure about that, right? You're 100% sure. No shadow of a doubt there. Ah, that must be a nice feeling, huh? Why don't you be a good example for your residents? Make the call.